Last week on the show, you heard from Jen Wilson, who's been helping evacuate our allies and the families of Americans from Afghanistan. She had a specific request.
I really need someone in a position of power to allow us to start moving family members of Americans. So if there's anyone in a position of power that can help us fix that part, it would be an enormous help.
Right. Well, we do have someone in power, and here he is, member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty. Senator, great to see you this evening. I really appreciated the accountability you brought when Blinken was up there before you in that hearing. Just before we move on to the other aspects of the incompetence of this regime, I just want you to specifically address Jen Wilson's point there. Can you do something to chase Blinken and the State Department to pull their fingers out and get the paperwork done? She specifically was talking about American citizens, fathers with their children who can't get out because they haven't got the paperwork. Can you do something about that? Obviously not directly, but can you press Blinken on this?
Steve, we absolutely are pressing Blinken. I will continue to do that. My staff worked through the nights, through weekends. It was an incredible feat before we exited Kabul finally. We helped get loads of Americans out, and I really take my hat off to the work that my team did to work with the State Department to press them and help them. The State Department didn't have the capability on their own. We're going to continue to press them now. It's really a matter of competence, as you mentioned. We've got to press them, to hold them accountable. You saw me question Secretary Blinken. There's a complete lack of accountability right now in this administration. But we're going to continue to keep the pressure on. They know that we want to see results here, and I absolutely am empathetic with her request.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, and we're going to stay on this, and just as you are, we're not going to forget about it and move on like Biden wants us to. Let's turn to these spending bills. I mean, you've again been a very clear, strong voice on all of this. Let's take the legitimacy point first. What they're pushing forward with this massive expansion of government, that was not what Biden promised us when he said he would be a moderate. They don't have this overwhelming majority in the Senate to push through this kind of thing. It's not legitimate, is it?
It's the biggest bait and switch, I think, that we've seen in American politics. If you look at how Joe Biden campaigned in 2020 as a moderate, as a centrist, versus what we're getting, Bernie Sanders is the author of this $3.5 trillion socialist debt bomb that they're unleashing. You see the Democrat Party, they're completely moved by the far left wing of their party. And Joe Biden is going right along lockstep with them. This movement, look at the $3.5 trillion, which is probably north of $5 trillion, Steve. If you look at what they're trying to accomplish here, it's cradle-to-grave government dependency, just as you said, European-style socialism. What they're going to do is shove more American jobs overseas. They're going to kill the fossil fuel industry here. And they're going to do this by waging war on American capitalists, on American job creators, on American entrepreneurs through the tax system.
So let's turn to the other part of it, because, again, you were very strong on the so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill that some of your colleagues signed up for in the Senate, your Republican colleagues. And it's very evident that it's not like some moderate, reasonable bipartisan bill and then the left. It's all one thing. That's how the Democrats are treating it. Do you think with Pelosi's announcement tonight that she clearly hasn't got the votes for what she wants to get through, they're delaying this vote till Thursday, do you think there's a chance that even some of the Republican senators who signed up for the bipartisan bill, they may peel off when they realize what's going on with the Democrats?
Well, I'll go back to when I stopped the advancement of the, quote, bipartisan infrastructure bill. I think many of my colleagues really did want to see hard infrastructure. I did too. I was skeptical. But when the bill actually came out, it was a 2,700-page bill, again, drafted by the Democrats. I think many of my colleagues were surprised to see what's in it. And by me basically stopping this, by holding it up, by opening the American public eyes to what was in this bill, I think a lot of people saw that only, 23% of it was hard infrastructure. The rest of it was a down payment on the $3.5 trillion, again, socialist debt bomb. What we have is something that was advertised to be completely paid for, yet it ran over $250 billion short and in the red. A number of my colleagues moved over with me and voted against it. I think as more of this comes out, it's going to be more and more difficult for anybody, Republican or Democrat, to support these packages.
Well, very, very well put. Thank you for fighting on all these fronts, Senator, and great to see you tonight. We appreciate it.
Steve, thank you for your voice, too. Thank you so much.